I can make a consistent 5 BB at full ring at ignition, then there's no reason to hear that you shouldn't be able to do better than that, or that at the very worst.
Yeah, I tend to raise to $7, so 3.5 big blinds, and they call pretty readily. If there's a limper, I'll add to it.
Yeah. Yeah, then obviously if you see that they're consistently willing to call more, then go for it. But just one thing.
Go ahead.
One thing I always do is I always will raise at least slightly less with aces than say kings, simply because they play so much better post flop. Like the last thing I want to do is risk blowing a guy out of the pot with aces. Now obviously that's never my goal with kings, queens, or whatever. But the point is that it's not tragic, you know. So for instance, if I consistently see a guy is limping and calling 5x, I never act under the assumption that they do that every time. And so like that would be a situation where maybe I would go 5x with the kings, but I'd go 4x with the aces.
Yeah.
Now, that might be one of those things that if I really stop and take a look back on it, it might not make a ton of sense. But, well, I've done pretty well over the years, and I've got a lot of little things like that I do. At some point, we got to get you with the 4-color deck. No sense in worry about it now, though. I definitely found that the min c-bet, it seems to work better here than it has anywhere else I've done it. And it is just funny to think that the players here are significantly worse, but folding to smaller bets.
Yeah. Oh, the colors on this 4-color deck make my eyes burn.
Those are pretty standard 4-color deck ones. You get some weird kind of color blindness or something?
No, it just looks super weird. It doesn't look how it should to me. I don't know.
It looks about right. I mean, I don't know, maybe the clubs are a little bright.
And the diamonds.
Yeah, the diamonds are just a tad. Maybe you know the answer to this. I'm thinking the fact that it's browser-based might have something to do with the legal loophole that they're using.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about that?
No.
Or it could simply be that it's just cheaper for them to run that way.
Yeah, it looks nasty.
Okay, all right, we're going to refer to the tables that top left is 1, top right is 2, bottom left is 3, bottom right is 4. So the guy that in your girlfriend, my railbird, the guy who raised the 2.5x on table 4.
Yep.
This morning, I saw that he raised the 2.5x and then snap called my small blind shot with 5-4 suited. So he's a reg, and well, pretty much at this point, I'm going to assume anyone who is raise the deuces to 2.5x. Those hands tend to be the most interesting if they go to a flop.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to call him. If anyone else calls, hopefully you'll just know to fold. Okay. Yep.
Just muck it?
Yes. Yes. Is that a serious question?
Just making sure. I'm 10.
Okay, so I have a general tag for just bad callers.
Mm-hmm.
What tag are you not using? Like one that you don't need to put what the hand is.
Purple I don't really use.
Okay, I've been using purple, so great. Why don't you just do purple? Like if you see them make a bad call or something. But contrast that with a guy who opens for pot and calls a 20 big blind shove with like Jack 8 offsuit. That deserves a different tag, mainly because he's opening for pot and calling light. So you'll have to deal with him a little bit differently. But let's say guys like that. Now my standard play right now, before getting into the limping analysis, would be if a guy open limps on the cutoff, some of the hands I'll shove include any broadways, so even like Jack 10 offsuit from the small blind.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who has a purple tag, I'm not going to do that. I would rather complete.
Gotcha.
Because that's a guy who, okay, wait, this is interesting. I would bet.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2.
Yeah, and then you're going to stack here.
Yeah.
Now, the only way you wouldn't stack is if it comes running 6-4. Well, just keep min betting.
Oh.
Just min bet. And if he wants to raise, you'll have no idea. Okay, so him check and call. Now this guy he's predisposed to any 2 suited cards because he overcalled a shove with 10-9 suited. Okay. Alright, so you can still leave that call where it is because he played a shitty hand the way a shitty hand should more or less be played. Not the way we would play it, but he called 2 min bets and checked it back with a pair. You know?
Mm-hmm. I want to shove this guy or 3-bet him at least.
Well, yeah, ship it. Just go ahead. That'd be like a standard 20 BB cap shove. And just be ready to take a note depending on what happens. And a lot of wait. Okay.
Should I shove?
What?
Should I shove this if Kid Rock is a light caller?
No.
5?
But don't time out though. Yeah. Well, because remember, he overcalled a small shove with something. What I would say happened with the 10-9 suited was that he really wanted to play the hand against you and wasn't prepared to take in new information. Mm-hmm. So he sees us. It's like he loves that hand, and he sees the small shove, and he still looks at it, and he still says, "Hey, I can make a straight or a flush or top pair."
Yeah.
So, wait, let's see. This is interesting. This is just one guy?
Yeah.
I would go pot. Okay, that guy checks. Bet $4 with the ace queen. Let's do the mega on this guy. Raise to 16. I would min open ace 8 suited from that spot. Okay, so notice that guy, folded for 1/13 bet. 1/3 bet. 1/3 pot bet. Yeah, I'm going to have to give you my starters by position. I've decided at some point I want to put a couple $100 into ignition, and since all the tables there are anonymous, I think it's a perfect testing ground to find out like the success rates of various bet sizes and whatnot. Like and just do it with random hands, but not sit at any one table too long. Like for instance, guys fold to you on the button, making a min raise, and then if it's junk, you just fold to a 3-bet. But if it goes to the flop and they check, just making like min bets and stuff, and then try that with like a 1.5 big blind one, and then once I get like a good enough sample size, I can start publishing those results.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, min raise.
Min raise him?
Yeah. You gotta quit doing that, man.
I know, it's profitable because of the chart.
Well, I know, but all right. Now here, bet 4. Now remember, this is like a 2-bet hand. Yeah, just ship that. You just call. Now we're not necessarily staying with this. Oh, he's only got 22?
Yeah, we're...
All right, yeah, so just check and see.
I don't want to give him a freebie, though, if he has a heart.
Well, yeah, but he could have nothing. But we have no reason to believe much anything at this point. All right, just call. Decent chance you're outkicked. Ace 8, Ace 6. Okay. But yeah, I mean, like right now, since we're doing it with, since we're playing 20 BB, we're gonna put ourselves in more difficult situations,
Yep.
Even though the EV of playing that flop versus open shoving is probably very similar. Wait, no, don't fold.
No, I was gonna raise min. It was
Okay.
just there.
All right, check that back. He checked really fast, which means that he was going to check raise you or check fold. So if he was going to check raise, he'll bet. All right, then just go like half pot. Don't worry that the board's getting really bad there. Okay, that guy, yeah, just play it out normal. Just set yourself up for that all-in bet on the... Oh, that's almost the worst card. Yeah, let's check it back. Okay, now there, wait, hold on. We got to set ourselves up for all-in. Bet like 13 with the ace-9. And just situations like this, whether the player's bad or not. Okay, now I wouldn't normally do this against most players, but I would stick the rest in here. Okay, I was going to say don't be surprised if they beat you though, but that would be the highest EV play. It's rather considerate that they give you that warning there.
Yeah, and then
but I don't like it.
And now the game is gone.
Did you click the wrong button or something?
Nope, I just clicked OK, I think. Maybe I did, I guess. Fuck.
Are they trying to like nudge certain players out of tables? Or does that happen after an hour?
It happens no matter what. After a certain time, whether you're winning or losing.
I mean, that must be some kind of tactic for them to free up tables. Like, for instance, like when Netflix says, "Are you still watching?" It's because you're using their bandwidth and they don't want you like falling asleep.
Yeah.
Hey, wait. No.
Mm.
You play down a king 5 suited on the button.
Okay, 20 deep.
Here, let me give you my simplified ranges here in Skype. And these will be. Wait.
Oh.
You're opening any two from the small blind. And trust me when I say that's not as daunting as you think. Well, go ahead and play that at 60 BB. King 3 suited. Okay, yeah, the ranges I'm going to type in here are going to be for around 20 BB plus, but let's say around 17 BB. But certain hands, if they need more post-flop maneuverability, you know, feel free to open fold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always should be making that judgment. Okay, I figured out a way that I like handling like top pair and stuff. Is, yeah, just like donk out for the min. Now, I should say that when you're doing that, you're going for the low probability fold, but it's also the fact that, as we discussed yesterday, that check calling is never going to offer the kind of implied odds that you hope for.
Yeah.
And then just keep going. Just bet $4. And then I always like to bluff on the river because you just never know. Even if you suspect it's never going to work.
I can bluff with this.
Yeah, here a bluff is not going to work. Value has... Wait, no, go at it strong. Wait. Yeah. Just go for like 13. Because that filled some two pair combinations and if you
that was straight.
So you're basically playing there. You're basically playing as if he had the ace. You know, as if he had an ace with a shitty kicker. So if he had an ace, he's not going to lay it down. Actually, maybe half pot would have been a little bit better there. It's unfortunately stuff like that. When a play works, it's hard to be really objective about it. It's always for me been a lot easier to be objective about the merits of any given play if it fails.
Yeah.
Call that. But yeah, I never tend to get crazy with that top pair of a hand if I'm not the aggressor. But there you're probably making a positional play. Yeah, so I like donking for the min. Like if I'm on the big blind and the guy limps on the button or limps from the cutoff, then as long as the board isn't too bad, I'll donk out for the min with like any pair.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely with top pair and such. It's just been my experience that checking and calling there gives you absolutely no information. And if they raise, just give it to them. And mainly because my policy is that I prefer to get out of a hand as early as possible if the read is weak to non-existent. Okay, wait, hold on. This is interesting. Check that back. There's just not enough payoff hands here. What you have is a bluff catcher. It's a really good hand, but...
Queen, king?
Check. It's king 6-6. The thing is, okay, now go ahead and bet half pot. The reason you check that back is because barring the ace falling, your hand is really safe and it's way ahead, way behind.
What I often like to do there is bet the flop and have him call with some pocket pair type hand and then check the turn and then bet the river. And I get pretty decent action doing that line from regs.
Okay, well it's probably quite similar in nature. You gotta start raising those hands, boy. Dr. B. All right. Okay. What's the note on Adidas Junkie on table 2?
He's a dumbass.
Very wide calling range. Okay. All right. So just
That's
make it
24.
like 24. Yeah. Just triple it. Oh, and of course, if at any point you really disagree with my play, do what you're gonna do. Okay.
Gotcha.
I would just make a note that guy went 4x. I wouldn't note that he made it a fold to a 3-bet because you were sitting there with over 30 big blinds.
Yeah.
So just put 4xer or just anything like that. And we want to see his hand go to showdown. One way to look at it is that a guy, if you see him flip over a shitty hand after raising pot or 4x, start with the assumption that that's the bottom of his range. I'm sure that makes sense to you because you're a logical thinker.
Yeah.
Whereas so many other guys over the years, they get taken in by their wishful thinking. And they see a guy do it with, Jack 10, so they'll assume that maybe he does it with 8-7 suited as well. It's like, well, in terms of showdown quality, the two hands are incomparable.
Yeah.
So what do you got, like 2 19s?
Two 19s?
Your,
What do you mean?
how big are your monitors? You said you got 2 monitors.
Oh, well, I got my laptop monitor, and then I have another one. I don't even know.
I mean, is it in a square shape?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's probably a 19 because it looks just like the shitty one I've got here, my backup one.
In my apartment, I have a 32-inch monitor, and it's fucking beautiful.
32?
This is the one I have on campus.
Man, I always had the biggest one amongst my friends. Now it feels little.
Yeah, mine's bigger than yours.
It's not the size that matters.
Yes, it is.
Whatever. Let me believe what I want to believe. It's that guy. He blew him off a hand before. Just jam it. Yeah.
And this
Just-
one.
Just
I'm
jam
doing
that.
that.
Yeah. What a good flop. Although those always break my heart when you lose them.
King 5. Wait, I want to. No, I
Just
would.
purple tag him, or rather, get descriptive with your notes. Yeah, that's another thing I should probably explain. That when I'm giving you like the real shorthand stuff, the idea is so that you can sort of mass process notes while you're playing a lot of tables.
Yeah.
But if you have the time to do it and it's not going to distract from anything, then by all means use as much detail as you need. But part of it is, I'm working on like the website and such while I'm doing it, so I got to figure out the quickest way. And I'm like, purple tag, it means they'll call with anything that I would not ever.
They won't let me take notes on him because he's sitting out.
Why do they do that?
Because they're turds.
Pretty much. Although we should probably watch what we say about them when we're actively attempting to ruin their site.
We're not ruining anything. We're getting them more rake. We're promoting their site.
Actually, that is true. Did you ever read my part-time poker article about why raising the buy-in kills off the traffic at sites?
Yeah, I did.
It's funny, I can't believe that I'm the only one who seems to have noticed that. It's just like if you have a tournament with your friends that you charge $20 to play one week, and next week it's $40. There's a decent chance a lot of those dudes aren't going to show up.
Yeah,
because they just can't shell out that kind of money, and that's exactly why these deep stack tables have always failed, because it's just way too much freaking money to sit down and play.
and they don't want to play 10 cent 25. They want to play $1, $2.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. There's your under the gun range, simple range, I should say.
Thanks.
Okay, next time you should probably go to 6 with the jacks.
Okay.
Knock out the guys behind you, and that's one where it's really not tragic if everybody folds. And obviously you want to play it, but yeah. Okay, so under the gun range is 5s plus, ace 10 offsuit plus, ace 8 suited plus, king queen, king jack suited plus, and queen jack suited. I love getting those premium hands on the blinds. What's your standard here to make it 8?
Yeah, it's 7 or 8. I think they're more likely to call 7.
Well, there's two of them in there. Yeah, just.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, don't do that, man. Do you catch yourself every time? Or do you never make that mistake when there's no one yapping your ear off? Okay. What would you normally do here? Because the play is the check. Play is the check. There's nothing that can pay you off. Again, you're not folding, but if you bet, you know, what's going to come along with you? Okay. Let's see. Half pot I think is too much because hedge medge is already in there. I would go 8.
So why 8?
Because the way I look at it, one guy has less than a pot size bet in his stack. So since he can't do anything, he doesn't have the odds to call versus anything. All right, here I would check and then maybe shove on him. You've run out of hands you can call with. Hurry up and do it. Stop. Okay, good.
These guys call me so lightly, I'm not used to checking so much.
Well, but I mean, like, what's he going to call with? Give me a list of those hands.
It's pocket pairs, sometime even ace king.
Okay, now I would call. I wouldn't shove. Why would he have ace king? He limped. Okay.
I've seen it many times from guys who are not regs.
All right.
I see that shit all the time.
I know, but it's still. I'm gonna make up a word here. I'll call it anti-probable. But yeah, I do see it a lot. But also, I thought that given those cards out there were a lot more bluffs in his range, or there was a lot more complete garbage in his hand, and busted draws than any kind of value to pay off with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also why we bet so small on the turn. Okay, so what I was trying to say is, since that one guy had a pot size bet left in his stack, any size bet, and I'm talking about hedge medge,
Yeah.
any size bet you would make would be killing his odds to draw to whatever,
Yeah.
Especially because I can't quite recall what your suits were on your kings, but one of those outs, I believe, was burnt. Yeah, just do that.
I like that.
All right, you'll see it again. One of those outs was burnt. Like another jack hitting gives you a boat. And of course, they could potentially always have quads, but those are the risks you take. You're not afraid of it.
Yeah.
So say once that flush comes out, you're no longer protecting your hand. The way I see it, since one guy's virtually all in and he doesn't have enough money behind to get implied odds, any bet you make is going to ruin his odds. So effectively, you're only playing against one guy. And he also hedge doesn't have enough to drive you out of the pot. But and since there was so few hands out there, okay, I like to do the mega with the jacks. Okay, that's where I fold jacks. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
There's just not enough hands that can play back at you, and also. I think I like the term when I talk about those guys, the EV maximizers, are still overlooking the fact that you have an under the gun guy who opened. He opened for a raise. Now, do I think his hand is premium when he opened with a deep stack from the minimum? No, but it could be. And so that's one that sometimes I'll even fold queens there. All right, and did you have any other questions about the king's hand, or because I think the river, at least the way it played out, lent support to what I was saying.
It makes sense. That specific hand, I feel like it would have been relatively similar regardless, because he would have called a flop C bet and he would have called a turn bet, a sizable turn bet too, I think, or have just shoved it. So I think there would have been a similar outcome. But I see your point. I was confused by it at first, but yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so many times there's, I guess, a way to sum it up. All right. A way to sum it up is you get more value in checking than in betting. No. Check it. That hand is safe. In other words, if it's good now, but this one you're not so guaranteed to go to the river. And this is where having multiple guys in the... Okay. I'll let you do what you want to do, and then I'll tell you what I would have done.
Now I feel like I just fold, because I think he's going to bet the river no matter what.
Fold. Yeah. Now, if he checked and the second guy bet 16, I would call and then evaluate on the river. You know why?
Because two checks imply more weakness, and if I was strong at all, I think they'd expect a C bet on the flop.
Well, the flop, the way I saw it, like your checking there was ambiguous. Now, they don't necessarily see it that way. But when it comes back around and then one guy leads strong into two players, he's making a bigger show of strength than if he checked and the other guy bet it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Because the first guy, the guy who did bet, is playing against two players, and now the second guy is effectively only playing against one. Because the first guy checked twice. So it's a lot more likely that he's literally and mentally checking out of the hand.
So the thing that concerns me there is, so me giving up ball control by not C betting means I'm going to get scared off by inferior hands a lot of the time, I think. Whereas if I double barreled there, that I get those hands to fold.
Yeah, but when you bet on the flop, what hands are calling your C bet?
What was the flop?
It was king, deuce, deuce.
Any pair is usually calling one C bet.
Okay.
And a lot of
What
those
else?
pairs besides kings plus will fold to the second.
Well, but the thing is, is that would be that those are the kinds of hands like I somewhat agree with you, but there's another thing that now I didn't ask you what hands would call that you could beat. I mean, like what hands would call a bet
On the flop,
yeah.
any variety of pairs.
What else?
I don't know if it's a real dumb person,
about-
maybe
what-
like
what-
a couple overs, but I don't expect anything else really.
Well, if somebody had a king or a deuce, do you think they would call?
Well, a king, yeah, any pair.
Yeah, and same thing with the trips.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Well, that board wasn't paired with the king when I had queens.
it was king deuce deuce, unless I'm blind.
I thought it was king deuce 6.
No. It was king deuce deuce then 3.
Huh. All right.
All right, now you got me worried, man. I got to do a video replay to see if I'm losing my mind. Okay. So, yeah, make sure you're always setting up your bet sizing for the next street. You see, as far as what you're saying, it's like you're only partially right, okay?
Mhm.
Because it's easy to want to look at it and think what hands would come along if you bet twice or once or twice, you know? But also, like, if you were to fire a second barrel at it enough to give you the information that you want, you're practically glued to the pot on the river, and you're actually to the point where a guy might just make a move at you. You know, if the pot would have been, it started out as like 24. If you were to bet half pot, you get 36 plus like 48. So the pot's like $50 on the flop. And to two barrel, now you're talking about, let's say if you two barrel for 20, now you've only got like $30 left behind, and the pot's like 90. It's too easy to talk yourself into doing something like really bad. Make sense?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that's just part of it. But it's also the big problem with hands like that is that guys are going to play the hands that have you killed the same way as the hands that you're killing, and you can't tell the difference. So if betting a big portion of your stack and inflating the pot on the turn makes sense, then I forgot what I was going to say. Anyhow, the hand that you had was perfect for it. But also, I would have played aces the same way. I'd have played a king the same way. But it's also because I want to get their value. But having two of them involved in the pot makes them somewhat easier to read. Right? You get a draw there.
Yeah.
There's too many people involved in there. Yeah, it's probably just better to check out.
Yeah. I'm scared to bet that.
So they would play their crap hands and their value and their floats of king, of ace queen or ace jack, anything like that. But when you check it back, you're giving yourself to get a better grasp of the hand from player one, who bet 2/3 of the pot into it, into two players who were going to check that regardless.
Yeah.
So now, if it was like a deep stack game, then I can see your point. But it's still just like maybe a 2-street value hand, and it's just that the play is likely to be check and call no matter what. Now, if it checked and the second guy bet 16, I would call, but not when the first guy does it. And then lastly, it's because your hand has so little equity when it's behind. And just bet $4 there. Do it again. And just remember, I don't care if he raises it to 8 or whatever, you do not call because you have no read on him.
Oh.
Okay, and the main thing about that is don't even... Alright, bet. Well, we gotta blow him off on a turn. Attempts to... It's 12. I'll always think about like what the pot geometry is gonna look like.
Hey.
Well, if that wasn't a horrible card, it was a fantastic one. I have a feeling if he had it, he would have dog shoved into you on the turn. I was just about to say it was a great card. No. What happened on table 4? How did you get to the flop?
Iris.
See, they're dropping like flies. Did you just put the bondage gimp back in the basement or something?
What?
Never mind, you're too young for that reference. Do you have roommates or something?
No, I'm at SDSU in my office. Someone else just walked in here. She plays too, though, so she doesn't care.
Oh, is she there right now?
Yeah, she just walked in.
Is he your assistant?
No, but all the grad students, 4 of us share an office.
Do what?
4 of the grad students share an office.
Oh, okay.
But I should close this up though. She's gonna try and get some work done.
It's all good. There's a lot of stuff covered here.
Yeah.
So you play into the blinds?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I gotta add those ranges for you. Now, a lot of guys like to add 10-9 suited from every position. I just don't see really the value there.
Every position?
Yeah, I mean, whether or not they're talking about under the gun in a full ring game or whatever, they always have 10-9 suited in there, which it has its purpose, you know, for as far as like not being predictable. But my thing is, if I feel that guys are starting to read me well, then I'll just switch it up. Then I'll just do something they won't expect. Like I don't like to start off with a hand and put myself into a bad position, because honestly I don't know what to do with a 10-9 top pair. You know, that's why I'm a short stacker. Yeah, good. The main thing is, okay, now remember, he could have called with anything.
Yep.
So, all right. I would bet 8.
Thinking of a river shove.
So we're trying to get rid of his junk here. Okay. And just fold. Alright, then we'll go over these ranges for the video next time, but hijack is 4s plus, ace 10 offsuit plus, ace 5 suited plus, king jack plus, king 10 suited plus, queen 10 suited plus, and jack 10 suited. Okay, that's all for now, folks.
All right, thanks.